To start with, on the install, the first thing we'll be doing is putting in our motherboard standoffs, and all the holes on the back side of the motherboard are clearly marked and identified for your micro ATX or standard ATX. The holes are there, right? And there's a coating up here that probably hard for you to see because it's stamped into the black front of the motherboard tray, but it gives you the codes for the proper holes to put in your standoffs. And in this case we'll be installing a full-size ATX, right? And that takes all 9, and with this little handy dandy socket that they supplied, just slip it over, spin it in, and lock it down. And that's it. So I'll be putting those in, and then we'll move on to putting in the power supply, and then placing the motherboard. Okay, we've got all our standoffs installed for the ATX motherboard we'll be putting in, all 9 of them. They actually went in quite easily. I was able to screw them in by hand and then tighten them down with the little socket they provided that has the Phillips head end on it. So that was really nice that that was included in the package. Made it that much easier. I've already pre-installed the dampeners, the rubber dampeners at the back of the case for the power supply. These are the pull-offs from the sticky side. I've stuck them on inside here so that when I slide the power supply back in, it'll rest against those isolation dampeners, the rubber isolation dampeners. And today we'll be installing a modular power supply. It's a 1250 watt, 80 plus gold certified from Sparkle, and pretty simple to do, just with the fan facing down naturally because we're going to be pulling air off the bottom of the case, right? We just place it in, slide it back. Pretty simple. It has a little tab up here at the top that actually holds it in place quite sturdily. Place it in, and then we'll secure it at the back with the 4 screws provided, and we'll run our cables through the back side, and we'll start routing cables once we install the motherboard. Okay, let's move on and install our motherboard. Installing the dust cover is fairly simple. This particular one, like the one you'll have, will come with your motherboard. This one in particular has a cushioned back, so when you slide your motherboard in, it'll rest up against this. Just push it forward, line it up on the motherboard standoffs, and push it up against the cover from this direction. Get the holes lined up and make sure they're lined up on all the standoffs, and then just screw the motherboard down. But they're fairly simple to install. Just come in from the inside, line up your 2 bottom corners, give it a gentle push, and you'll hear it popping in. And that's it. You're done. It's ready for the motherboard installation. Today we'll be putting in a full ATX motherboard with a pretty nice size cooler on it. And just make sure you lay your, your chassis down on the back side and place the motherboard in nice and gently, and like I said, line up the holes and line up the motherboard against the I/O dust cover, and then secure the screws. Installation of our motherboard went fairly easy. Everything lined up, and I was able to secure the 9 screws on the 9 standoffs on the motherboard tray with no issues. I took the liberty of routing some cables off the power supply for our hard drive and also for our optical drive. And so I pre-routed the SATA cables, both power and data cables, for the SATA connections. Cable management on this case is what I expected, and basically I'll explain a little bit more about that when I turn the chassis around. As you can see, the I/O plate lined up really well. The dust cover lined up really well with the motherboard. I've run the USB 3.0 from the front of the case through one of the grommeted holes at the back and plugged it into our 3.0 port on the I/O panel, as this was USB and not 24 pins, so this would not connect up to a 3.0 connector on your motherboard if you have one. When I say cable management is what I expected, the reason I say that is this. There's literally just a 1/4 of an inch of room back here, and if you take into consideration the rolled steel edges around the back side of the motherboard tray, it leaves you very little room for cable management. I was able to run my USB 2.0, and I was also able to run the audio cables, the high definition audio, in a spot right here just above the power supply, which made it easy to connect up to the motherboard on the other side. But my 8-pin cable, which had the length and would have been able to come in anywhere at the top, there is no spot up here to bring it in. And if I was to bring it out on this side and try to run it back through one of the cable pass-through holes on the motherboard tray itself, it's actually too thick, along with my 24 pin and my SATA connections. They all had to be run out the side of the hard drive cage and then back through in this area. So I was unable to do any cable management at the back, which means I'm going to have a clump of cables right here to deal with, and hopefully that won't hamper airflow too much. But that's where we're at on this install, and that's the reasons why I wasn't able to do some really nice cable management on this, for the lack of room between the door and the back side of the motherboard tray. Because the acoustics on the door itself is 1/8 of an inch. So you take that into consideration, you're significantly reducing the amount of room back here because of the acoustics and the fact that there's literally only 1/4 of an inch between the door and the tray. We'll move on now and install our video card, but before I do that, I want to point out too that I have an aftermarket cooler on here. It's 160 millimeter, and it comes really close to the side door. So be cognizant of that if you're going to install an aftermarket water cooler. If you're going to go, air cooler, if you're going to go buy one, make sure it doesn't exceed 160 millimeters. Otherwise it will hamper you from closing the side door. Our connections for our audio and USB have been done, as well as all of the connections for the front I/O panel and power cables. We have our 24 pin up here connected. Our 8 pin, I had to put an extension on it for the simple fact that I couldn't route it behind the motherboard tray. So I had to put an extension on it, bring it up, like I said, behind the hard drive cage to make that work. Okay, let's move on and install our video card. Installation of our video card is really quite simple. What you want to do first is line it up with the respective slot that you're going to install at, to make sure that you remove the 2 covers that are necessary from your expansion slots, the 2 dust covers. These covers are not replaceable, so I've already removed these, but you'll have to take them and bend them a couple of times back and forth to release them from the 2 tabs that hold them in place, and they literally break off and open up those spots for the video card. Just take the video card, line it up at the back, line it up with the connector on the motherboard tray. A simple little push, it locks in, and secure it here at the corner with 2 of the screws provided, and hook up your 2, your power cables on this side, and you're done with that. Installation of our hard drive is fairly simple. Both the hard drive cage and the ODD 5.25 cage on the Silencio 450 have a couple of toolless features. The top cage here for your ODD drives has 1 toolless feature. The other 2, if you're going to install more than 1 ODD drive, you would have to use the screws provided to secure it. But this particular tab can be undone and moved to any of the 3 slots if you so choose to put it in one of the bottom ones instead of the top. And at the bottom on the hard drive cage, they do allow you 2 toolless features out of the 5 available. Right, and then same as the top with a simple twist. These come out and they have some pins, plastic pins that will insert into the screw slots, and you just lock it down to hold it in place. So we'll just slide this drive in and line up the holes. Push in on the go. Push in, give it a half a turn, and it's locked in. Now all you have to do is go around the other side and hook up your SATA power and SATA data cables, and your hard drive will be ready to go. Now next we'll install our ODD drive, and that should conclude our installation. And from there we'll do some benches on and see how quiet this is and how it fares temperature wise. Okay, now we'll be installing our ODD drive, or optical drive. I'll be putting it in at the top. And before we place it, we'll have to knock out the dust cover. So what I normally do is I go in from the inside, we'll push on one of the corners, should release this cover, no problem. There we go. Pop it out. Remove the plastic toolless retention bracket. Slide in our ODD drive. Line up the holes. Give me a moment here. Go. Holes are lined up, simple twist, and it's locked in place. Okay, that concludes our installation of the Cooler Master 450 Silencio. So now we'll close her up. I'll connect the cables, we'll close her up, and I'll do some benches on this and see how she fares as far as temperature and see just how quiet she is. All our power cables, our SATA power, and our data cables have been connected. Also the connections to the video card have been placed. I've put the back door back on, and I'm getting ready to secure the front door. And this will conclude the review of the Cooler Master Silencio 450. And like I mentioned earlier, we'll be doing some benches on this to see how she fares temperature wise, and I'll be checking out the sound to see how quiet it is. And until then, we'll see you on the forum, hightechlegion.com. If you have any questions, or if you feel I didn't cover something in more detail and you'd like some answers, feel free to post on the forum, and I'll be glad to answer your questions. See you then.